So what's good, everybody? You're watching the sexiest man alive in the universe. So everybody's been asking the sexiest man alive, what have I thought about Mike Dantoni's hiring? I have a little bit of mixed emotions about this because I had to let this shit sink in for a couple days before I came out with a video because I didn't want to say anything stupid. But nonetheless, I've had a lot of thoughts running through the sexiest mind in the universe. You know what that is? No matter, I think we interviewed 12 coaching candidates. Kenny the Jet Smith, Sam Cassell, Steven Silas, Frank Vogel, Tom Thibodeau. We interviewed Jeff Hornacek, that's 6. Mike Dantoni, that's 7. Mark Jackson, that's 8. Jeff Van Gundy, that's 9. Okay, so we had a list of coaching candidates that we've interviewed for the position. And my honest pick, if you would ask me who would I have hired as head coach, I would have told you that there's only about 3 head coaches that kind of eye my interest. Number 1 is Jeff Van Gundy. Why? Because he has experience with the team. He's a defensive-minded coach because this team needs defense. And we need a head coach that's going to come in and whip these boys into a defensive scheme, because you already know on the offensive end that we could put points on the board. But we just need like a defensive philosophy, like a foundation that's going to help revive this team, play some defense, you know? Jeff Hornacek was a good candidate. I also felt like, you know, when he played in the old days for the Utah Jazz back in the 90s, if you go back and watch some of his old footage, he was one of the best defensive players in the league. I think he was like all NBA defense for like 3 years in a row. So I thought Jeff Hornacek would have been a good candidate. Also Mark Jackson. He's a good defensive coach. He also played for the Rockets back in the 2005 to 2007 era. He also was the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, so he's had head coaching experience. Now, I thought for sure Jeff Van Gundy would have been the man. All of a sudden, I hear Mike Dantoni had a second interview, which kind of scared me because I knew from then and there that he was going to get the position, because anytime you call somebody in for a second interview, they pretty much got it. Then they interviewed Steven Silas from New Orleans, and I said, wait a minute, even though you are still going through the rest of your candidates, I still feel like when you call somebody in for a second interview and you called none of the other 11 candidates in for an interview, that tells me that that man's got the job. So you hire Mike Dantoni, 4-year deal, 3 years. I think the 4th year is a team option, which means the team can decide based on a vote if they want to keep him for the 4th year. And I'm pretty sure Les Alexander and Daryl Morey got their hands in on the voting as well. I'm pretty sure there's some sort of stipulation where they're involved in that, which I understand. You know, you're the owner, you make the final say. You know, you and your GM. So anyways, you hire, in my opinion, maybe the 5th or 6th best coaching candidate, because no matter who you would have hired, we would have faced scrutiny. Kenny Smith doesn't have any head coaching experience. He signed a 7-year deal with TNT the other day. Sam Cassell, no head coaching experience. He's just been assistant coach. You've got Jeff Van Gundy, where it used to work for us, but it didn't. Where he came in, yes, he's a good defensive-minded coach, but we didn't win any championships with him. So then people would say, well, why are you bringing him in now if it didn't work then? Then you got Frank Vogel. Well, you know, he never took Indiana to the finals or never took them far into the playoffs. So why are you hiring him? I mean, no matter who you would have hired, Steven Silas, never head coach, never had head coaching experience. Mark Jackson never could take Golden State to the big dance or whatever, and that was with the same roster that Steve Kerr has. So no matter who we would have hired, we would have faced scrutiny. But I felt like you hired the dumbest coach of all the candidates, but maybe the 5th most experienced out of the 12. Does that make sense? You hire the guy that is good. Okay, let's talk about Dantoni. His offensive scheme is great. He's good at the pick and roll. He did that with Nash and Stoudemire with the Phoenix Suns. Also, he has a good transitional offense. I see that the guys are constantly running the floor, but the problem with Dantoni is he's not a defensive-minded coach. And this team needs a defensive coach. So, Daryl Morey and Les Alexander, if you're listening and watch this, do you realize by hiring this guy, you taking about 20 steps back? Again, if you would have hired Kenny Smith, Sam Cassell, it would have been the same amount of steps, maybe even more, because they don't have that coaching experience. But I felt like Jeff Van Gundy would have only been maybe about 5 steps back. Frank Vogel would have been about 3 steps back. And if you would have hired Mark Jackson, it would have been about the same. But I felt like, why would you take 20 steps back to try to make 40 steps forward instead of hiring somebody like Mark Jackson or Vogel or whatever and only have taken a couple of steps back? Why would you hire somebody that's going to put you in a position to where you're going to have to find some sort of defensive philosophy? And Mike D'Antoni doesn't have that. So you hired a guy that has no defensive strategy whatsoever. I mean, do you realize that this team is lacking defense? And now you put us in position to where we have a coach that doesn't press the issue of defense. So we're not fucked, but we're kind of at a head. I said on Facebook, I was scratching my head at this. I said, I don't understand why we hired this guy, and definitely gave him a 4-year deal. Although I understand the new head coach is probably going to get 3 to 4 years, and I said that on Facebook. But I felt like Mike D'Antoni should have only been given about 1 to 2 years tops. 2 years tops. Not 4 years. Because if this guy does bad early, we're stuck with him for 3 to 4 years. We're stuck with him. You do understand that. You gave this guy too many years on his contract. So we're stuck with him for 4 seasons if this doesn't work. That means you better hope and pray that either Dwight Howard stays or you go and get Conley Jr. or Al Horford or whatever free agents, players that's going to come help James Harden. Because I'm telling you right now, if Dwight Howard leaves, you keep the same roster, and you got D'Antoni at head coach, I guarantee you this team will win no more than 25 games. With the roster, without Howard. No way. And it's already bad enough that the players on our team don't play defense, and then you got a guy like James Harden that has a difficult time passing the ball when he needs to, and he takes too many shots. Now, granted, Harden is the best player on our team, and he should take the most shots. But sometimes he puts himself in a position where he shoots too much, and he doesn't get other players involved. So I think Mike D'Antoni, the pros to having Mike D'Antoni is he's going to help this offense really well. He's going to help the distribution of the ball, the movement of the ball, the pick and roll. He's going to help our power forward and center get involved because he got Amari Stoudemire involved a lot into this offensive scheme. So that's the benefits of D'Antoni on the offensive side of the ball outweigh the other coaching candidates. However, he's lacking the defensive strategies. So now you put us in position to where we got to see what moves we're going to make in the offseason. If we can get Horford and Conley Jr., you got a guy like Conley Jr. that can play offense and he can play defense. You got a guy like Al Horford who's good at defense and he can shoot the outside jump shots. So even if Howard left, I think we still got a pretty decent team if we acquire those players. But if we keep the same roster, no additions at all, entering next year, you could bet your ass we'll win no more than 25 games. 25 and 57. But I know Daryl Morey's got a plan, and I know he wants to go acquire some players in the offseason. If Howard stays, maybe we can get like a Kevin Durant, or we can get, another small forward that can help out. Maybe get a point guard that can score and add some depth to the bench. So, my overall thoughts on Mike D'Antoni, I like the guy. I like his offensive scheme. I just wonder what he's going to do with the defense. And I'm just, scratching my head at the 4-year contract, because if it doesn't work out, If it does not work out, we're stuck with him. You understand? We're stuck with him. So anyways, it's the sexiest man alive. You guys wanted to get my thoughts, and I just wanted to share it with y'all real quick. I told you the pros to him, told you the cons. Overall, I don't like this move, but at all the coaching candidates we had, I don't think it was the best move. I think it was probably the 5th best move out of the 12 coaches. But my head coach of the Rockets would have been like Mark Jackson or Jeff Van Gundy or Jeff Hornacek. I would have went with any of those 3. Because we need a defensive-minded head coach. We don't need an offensive-minded head coach. We need a coach that's going to play defense because this team can score on the offensive side of the ball. So Rockets fans, or just fans in general, if you're watching this video, tell me what y'all think about this Dantoni hiring. You think it's going to work? Do you think it's not going to work? I mean, what are your thoughts? I like to hear your opinions. I don't want to just talk about myself, you know what I'm saying? And then y'all just, I don't want to leave y'all hanging, you know. Tell me in the comment section what y'all think about this move. If I would have signed Dantoni, 2 years top. 2 years tops. I'd have gave him 2 years, but not 4 years or 3 years with a 4th year option. Because like I said, if it doesn't work, you're stuck with the bastard. Seriously, you're stuck. Now, a lot of you say we could fire him, but nah. Not with that kind of contract. You're probably going to let him play 3 years at least. The 4th year would be like, nah, it ain't working. But see, in my opinion, I would have never gave him that many years. I would have gave him like 1 to 2 tops. I would have gave him 2 years. If we would have did bad next year, I would have said, okay, I'll give you one more try. And then after the next year, like, I would have canned him. Like, if it didn't work out. You know, like if we had another losing record again, I would have been like, nah, dude, you're done. Sorry. I'm shocked as many as Rockets fans. He has a 13% approval rate for the head coaching job in Houston amongst all the voters, which over 3.5 million people voted. That tells you something. Only 13% approved of this deal. I want it to work, but I don't see it. I don't see it working out. I'm sorry. I don't see it working out. I don't mean to hop on the bandwagon of the 87%, but I don't see this move working out at all. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what moves are going to be made in the offseason. What type of players are we going to bring into this? Because, you know, Nicholas Batum is still a free agent as well. And if we can get him, that can add some depth to our bench. If we can get Nicholas Batum to come off the bench, that'll help with our bench scoring a lot. Maybe even bring back Jeremy Lin. I heard rumors we may sign him back. You know, he's a free agent. So, like I said, there's a lot of moves that have to be made this summer. But it all comes down to, is Dwight staying or leaving? I would love for Dwight Howard to stay and give this another shot. But it's up to him. It's his career. It's his choice, you know. He's getting up there in age anyway, so, you know, he wants a ring. You know, the Rockets organization will be here longer after he retires, just like any player that plays in the league. So, you know, Dwight's got to do what's best for Dwight. And I totally understand. I ain't even mad at the dude, you know what I'm saying? He's had some of the best years he's ever had in his career playing for the Rockets. So, than he did for any other team. So, I guess that's pretty much it. Let me know what y'all think about this Dantoni hiring. 4 years, 3 years, 4th year player option, and I'm signing out this motherfucker. Peace out and go Rockets.